So I think today's session is interesting if you are someone who is somewhat familiar to the idea and the value of privacy. And I think all of us here are. I have interacted with almost all of you. And yeah, privacy for me is actually new. I am Shreyan Joshi. My face is all over YouTube. Uh, I talk about very controversial things sometimes, and I don't actually think too deeply about some of the things. But privacy, nonetheless, is important not just because you need to fear the government, but because privacy is intrinsic to who you are. It's what defines yourself, and it helps you be who you are again. Like I was saying. How's okay? Hello, Godel dropped a text and he dropped off. Hello, Godel, you don't need to do that. I don't know you're not on the call, but it's completely okay for you to share opinions. Hey, hello, Godel. I think you just joined. Hello, Godel has also been one of the regulars. So, yeah, he's opinionated. And I see that you delete your messages a lot. Hello, Godel. That's okay. That's, of course, your right. But I encourage people to share their opinions because that's how best ideas win. I hope my screen is visible. Can someone quickly confirm? You can see the
Yep,
article.
visible.
Okay, nice. So this article has an interesting history as well. This was hosted on Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com, I can quickly show you, is a domain owned by Roger Ver. Out of all the Bitcoiners in the world, Roger Ver owns Bitcoin.com, and yeah, you can go through it on your own time. I haven't gone too deeply into it, but like one of the OG Bitcoiners of India read the article "The Treasure, which is Privacy" on this website, and he poked it and he wanted me to host it on GitHub. I did it for a while at my GitHub, but I'm not a regular GitHub user, so we ended up forking it, reviewing it, editing it as well. I think there's some personalized insights here, and we'll go through it together. I think we should be able to cover it easily within 1 hour. And yeah, the idea is to again have debates as well. So if you have any personal opinions, feel free to share them, and we can have a discussion on them. So the format that we do right now is that I go through the article and I cover whatever I think about the material, and anybody can chime in at any point. So you don't need to mute yourself. You don't need to unmute yourself. You can participate through chat. You can just lurk around. I personally think lurkers have a lot of value in Bold because lurkers are like fly on the wall. They are like bird's eye view of what's happening, and that's incredibly valuable. The treasure, which is privacy. This is the abstract. I'll scroll down a bit. The philosophy of privacy extremism emphasizes that privacy should be maintained in all situations, that if in question, privacy should be given preference unless sufficient arguments to the contrary apply to the specific situation. So it's a bit pedantic, but I think it's also very intuitive. Privacy extreme in the real world when you're interacting with humans, when you can touch them, feel them, see them. It's very obvious, right? You don't want people asking more questions than necessary. You don't want people asking questions about your personal life. You don't want people knowing more about you than necessary. In the online world, it's not that intuitive because we interact with humans through Discord servers, WhatsApp, Signal, GitHub, and it's not always clear that there's another human on the other side, which is a user behavior thing. But yeah, if you've been on the internet long enough, you realize that you are leaking information every time you log into the internet. You are leaking information every time you open your mouth, every time you text someone, and it comes with its own risks. It comes with its experience as well. If you are experienced at privacy, like I downloaded Tor browser today, I've used it before, but I downloaded it again today, and it's completely legal. It's completely interesting. Like nothing. Like I wrote "Hello Brother" on DuckDuckGo. I've used DuckDuckGo before, but Hello Brother gives this. I don't know if Hello Brother knows my position, like geographically, but it gives an Indian context, right? Clearly. If I were to write "Hello World," it might have given me a completely different result. And I don't know if it's specific to being in India. But either way, I have mostly used Firefox. I don't use Tor. And I have started to realize the importance of privacy because it's not always about the government, it's about uh, useless information. I don't like ads anymore. I never used to like them, but I never realized that ads are being targeted to my life situation so much that the algorithm knows almost everything about myself, which is weird. It's creepy. It's not as dangerous as I think because yeah, I'm not doing that dangerous things. Privacy serves as a necessary condition for engaging in meaningful and truthful interpersonal relationships. Furthermore, privacy is a necessary condition under which a person can develop a self and embrace individual responsibility for decisions and actions that result from them. I will suggest everyone to read this article after the session. And to be clear, you can see other. I'm sharing my entire screen, right? You can see my Tor browser. Can someone confirm? Am I audible? Install a Pi hole at your place, blocks all the tracker, and it's a great hobby project. Okay, interesting. Okay, I have no idea about Pi hole. I'll look into it. Yeah, I'm into hobby projects. I'm into a lot of hobby projects.
It's basically a software for Raspberry Pi.
Okay. Oh, nice. I have a old Raspberry Pi at my house. It's actually broken. I might have to get a new one. But yeah, thank you for sharing. I'll probably look into it sometime.
Yep, it's
And
great.
Dur, can you help me just confirm that you can look at my Tor browser, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'll suggest everyone to read this on your own. But if you've ever done this experiment of completely shutting yourself down inside a room, just spending time with yourself, you know that privacy is just a thing, right? You have to do it sometimes. You have to just spend time with yourself. And you can have different modalities. You can go to the beach, you can go to the terrace, you can go to the mountains. But I think every human has at some point isolated themselves to find themselves, to just spend time with their own thoughts, to be better able to understand what they value. A denial of privacy, to the contrary, establishes and maintains a lack and loss of esteem, respect, and value in and for things and other persons. Privacy should therefore be the strong standard for personal behavior, normative for those that thrive towards personal human positive development. Yeah. So this was the philosophy of privacy, right? This has nothing to do with the internet. A lot of people question privacy itself, and this article will actually cover it in like amazing examples. This is a bit theoretical or academic, but it's still the basis for what privacy is. Yep, yep. I'll take a quick pause in case someone wants to share anything. The floor is open for all kinds of opinions, behaviors, preferences. But yeah, privacy is a treasure. It's a treasure not just on the internet, it's a treasure in human behavior. And India, especially, I think, as a culture, we don't understand privacy because of complex reasons, but simply because as children growing up, we are like a lot of us, not all of us, of course, are born in joint families or in families where parents think that it's okay for you to be completely uh, revealing yourself all the time. You don't have your personal room. A lot of children don't have personal rooms. Even if they do, they parents expect them to share everything, even in their adult lives. And when you move out, even then, parents want you to share everything. And that's a very personal or cultural thing. But I think it impacts the overall attitude towards privacy. When you talk to the average person on the street, they think privacy is for dangerous people. Privacy is for bad people. That's a misunderstanding on a very stupid level. That's not why, cause a socialist capitalistic way of life. Dude, that does not make any sense. If it's socialist, it's not capitalistic. You are using an oxymoron in the same. If you that's intentional, that's hilarious. I'm impressed. If that's not, then you are wrong. Because eventually you are dependent on your social connections for everything. But social connections does not mean that you have to be not private. You can still be leading a private life and having social connections. Yeah. But yeah, keep the chat continuing. I like Hello Godel, by the way. Hello Godel is very opinionated. He's also a little weird, but I like that he still expresses himself. Yeah, I'll read from the treasure, which is privacy. First response. The first response to someone who makes an effort to protect his privacy is often, I have nothing to hide because I have nothing to fear. So, first response to someone who actually tells you, like myself right now, that privacy is important. I don't know if any of you has this opinion, but you could say that Shreyan has nothing to hide because he has nothing to fear. Usually accompanied by an expression of righteous pride or the blissful presentation of carelessness. Yeah, they just shrug, right? They just put their hands in the air. Like, why are you hiding anything? What are you fearing? You are a lawyer. You don't do anything illegal. Why do you fear anything? Why don't you reveal your entire life for the world? He's kind of right. We definitely have a mashup of socialism and capitalism in our culture. He's right. He's right that we might have aspects of capitalism in terms of private property, but that's not the reason that you don't have privacy. Capitalism and privacy have nothing to do with each other. If they do at all, they support each other. Privacy is about private rights. It's about the right to disclose yourself uh, how much ever you want. And capitalism is about private property, that this is mine and I do whatever I do in my private property. That
Both
is why
concepts,
American.
I would say, kind of
Huh.
relate to each other. Like,
Uh-huh.
as you said, the private property is a part of capitalism, right?
Right.
And private information can also be considered as a part of capitalism,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you are sharing information with someone, you expect something in return. You don't
Huh.
necessarily share all of your
Huh.
information
Yes.
with everyone.
Yes. Yes. Right. Makes sense. But what has that got to do with the problem of privacy? I understand capitalism and privacy go hand in hand. I understand that. But it's socialism. I definitely agree that socialism is the problem, that we don't have privacy in India as a culture and as a legal system. But capitalism is not a problem. Capitalism is not a problem for
No,
privacy.
it's a benefit. I was saying that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. I agree.
It's actually a benefit. Socialism is basically preventing us from having the privacy,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah. Yes.
some
Of course.
aspects of it.
Yes. Yes. Totally. Yeah. Hello, Godel says this is why American dream sounds so ruthlessly capitalistic. Like if you want some medical thing and serious, you are held dependent on knowing someone in a good medical place. Even Indians get escape from sending money home tax by just speaking to our Indian relatives. Okay, maybe we can cover this later. I'll continue the article for now. As with most routine responses that have become maxim, uh, I hope the audio, the background is not too disturbing. And please let me know at any point. I can maybe ask. I've already asked them to like switch off the music in case it's still loud. Let me know. As with most routine responses that have become maxims of contemporary society, and proverbs uttered in reply to trigger words. This statement is more informative about the speaker than of the addressee or the subject of discussion. Yeah, I think I can break it down like this, that whenever someone is criticizing privacy itself, which is a lot of people, right? Which is my parents, which is my a lot of my friends, a lot of Bitcoiners maybe. I don't agree. I think Bitcoiners understand privacy by default, but a lot of Bitcoiners are buying through KYC services, which is more often than not a compulsion. It's not that they prefer it, but it's just convenience. They can, yeah, probably buy P2P, but it takes a lot of effort, and they end up using convenient services, which is a choice, which is not necessarily a leaking of privacy, but they forget privacy itself. Sometimes I believe they end up not. They end up saying that people will not understand privacy, which is not true. I think everyone does. You just need to talk to them, and like this line says, that they are mostly triggered. They mostly are triggered, and anything that triggers someone is coming as an emotional response. It's not coming from a rational place. More often than not, its underlying meaning should be rephrased to read, I am uneasy, maybe even afraid, around people that hide something. As such, it carries the implied request to anyone hearing it that they shall stop covering and hiding things to relieve the speaker of his uneasiness. Yeah, what that means is that if you're in a public place, if you're talking to someone and they say for some reason that they don't want to share this information, a lot of people get scared. But that's human nature. They wouldn't share everything. So yeah, you can't have that attitude. To be scared of someone just because they're not sharing everything. But even when taken at face value, above sentence communicates that it is the lack of fear that is the speaker's justification for not protecting his privacy. Is the lack of fear that is the speaker's justification for not protecting his privacy. Apart from the simple rejection of the statement as being false, in the light of existing and relevant threats and the reference to the blissful of ignorance, it is the exclusiveness of fear as the proposed reason for privacy that warrants consideration. Yeah, to break it down as simply as possible, that privacy is a subjective thing. When you are sleeping in your house, in a locked house, of course, you have less to worry about. When you're in a public place, you have more to worry about. So there is no silver bullet to privacy. But more often than not, if you can read the room, if you can read the individual in front of you, you know that what information needs to go out on a very intuitive level. And that's why you will see that different atmospheres have different human behaviors. In a restaurant or bar, you don't expect people to talk about their personal lives, so they would refrain from doing that. But in a more intimate environment of a house of someone when you're having lunch, you probably will share that, because in a house you don't expect someone to, like, some stranger to be there. You expect people to know each other. Yeah. So this is my understanding of it. This is a pretty pedantic. And this article is like, I've read it a few times, but yeah, every time I read it, I think what I try to get out of it is just making it simpler for me to understand. Yeah. I will see. The reference to fear in this context should first be understood as an instrument of rhetoric instead of an adequate choice of words in a balanced and clear-headed reasoning. Fear refers to the emotional response to existential danger and implies the lack or loss of courage to confront the danger. The sentence under analysis should thus be rephrased to read: you hide things because you lack courage in the presence of an imagined existential threat. It is therefore a double accusation of both cowardice and delusion. This is a pretty strong statement, one that I agree with. Most people in India, especially because I'm living in India, I've interacted with hundreds and thousands of Indian people. Most people just fear things. They just fear things. It's not that they have a rational basis for why they fear things. They just fear things. And it is not to criticize my own country or my own culture. I am a part of it. I am a deep part of it. I've never lived outside of the country. I love my country. I love the people here. But I think a lot of people fear just for the fear sake, because it is recommended. It's a good practice. Our parents, our society tells us that just fear. Fear is a good rule of thumb. But I don't agree, because fear is boring. Again, it is not the focus of this analysis to show that the protection of privacy and admitting to doing so requires a bit more courage than to repeat common proverbs, or that certain dangers exist that can be effectively answered by privacy. Nor does it need emphasis that those who protect the privacy of others often do so in the face of opponents that go a long way to ruin the names, property, freedom, and sometimes even health and life of those courageous guards of privacy. Right. So, as I said before, privacy is subjective. For some people, it is a matter of life and death. So, for me, it is easier said than done. That I have a fun attitude towards privacy. I look at privacy as a technical problem statement more than a real world problem. Because I live in a privileged city, I live in a privileged family, I come from a privileged background. I'm not facing any existential threat, and this is not true for a lot of people, right? I can give countless examples, but I think everyone here is aware of what's happening around the world, around jurisdictions in the world. A lot of people have to have privacy just because they need to survive. Instead, it should be pointed out that there are far more reasons to protect one's privacy and that of others than fear of losing freedom or life or even a good reputation. Hmm. Right. Yeah. So this is again a powerful statement that there are good reasons to protect one's privacy than the fear of losing freedom or life or even good reputation. Right. Every genius in this world has staked their reputation because they have sacrificed some aspect of their life which resulted in uh, that discovery or that revolution or that book or that idea or that group of people. Like, I look at it, Bitcoiners as a community of identifying as a Bitcoiner, right? That's very obvious. But what I mean by that is that people choose to identify themselves as a Bitcoiner, which is a powerful statement, right? In India, in such a casteist society, a lot of people identify with their surnames. I don't do that, but I see a lot of people doing that and be prideful. I take that pride in being a Bitcoiner. It's like that I have started to do that more and more. More people I meet, I introduce myself as a Bitcoiner, and it's fun because people sometimes might even think that it's a Marathi surname. It is interesting to note that an old synonym for fear could be awe, admiration, or astonishment, even respect. Worded this way, one might read above sentence as I hide nothing because I admire and respect nothing. This way, it becomes clear that the denial of privacy is often nothing but a lack of things that are valued, and the demand that others should not value something themselves. It thus contains the claim that nothing should be special and set apart. This article is interesting if you like look at the nuances of it. It is satirical, it is full of sarcasm, it is still very pedantic, it is still preaching, it is not an opinion piece. These are like objectively true statements. Most people who fear privacy are stupid people, and they admire people who have the respect and the courage to be private individuals. You definitely interesting way to introduce yourself. Right. Yeah, I do that. It's actually a fun thing. And the more you do it, the more you see that some people clearly also refrain from it. Some people say, I'm not like you. I'm not a hardcore Bitcoiner. Like I don't know what's a hardcore Bitcoiner because I don't know. Like I never went through the test of being a hardcore Bitcoiner. I never went to the gym of being a Bitcoiner. But yeah, people people get actually scared, or I don't know, like they get curious about making it clear. Like I'm not like you. I'm not a hardcore Bitcoiner. I find it interesting. But yeah, it's a lot of people do that, right? Of course, like they mention that they are a Bitcoiner in a conversation, and it sparks all sorts of conversations that you are not a true Bitcoiner or you are a shitcoiner or whatever. Where was I? Which brings us to the original meaning of the word private. In Latin, it refers to persons and things that were set apart from what would be available, subordinate, and used by all persons. The public. Public is public, right? On a public road, you can stand, you can sleep uh, a lot of times, and you don't have to ask permission. That's the meaning of public. When something is public, it is available to everybody because public means inclusivity, right? By definition, public means that it does not belong to one person or one group of persons. Private is the polar opposite. Yeah, it is set apart from what would be available, subordinate, and used by all persons. Thus, giving up one's privacy, as in the sentence we discuss, entails nothing else but the transformation of the speaker into a not particularly important and indistinguishable fragment of the mass. If the speaker is not really in fear about anything, it would primarily refer to not fearing to become a nothingness in the grey mass, just a grain of dust in the crowd. It is safe to say then that the speaker does not value and respect himself as an individual human person, or that he cowardly fears to be recognized as such. Yeah. This is too obvious. I wouldn't explain this. Leaving the analysis of the original statement, one should now focus on the negation of privacy opponents' reply while keeping its completed meaning in mind. Because I value and respect some things, I hide some things. Yeah, too obvious to give an explanation of. When is privacy required? This is more concrete. Yeah, I think I'll take a quick pause. Most of like we're halfway into the session. Most of the session so far just has been fun. It's not super technical. It's not super observational. You don't need to know a lot. You don't need to know anything. You just need to be a human. Uh, but now I think we will get into some complexities, some modalities. Yeah, yeah, this article has been edited a fair bit by Ishi. Ishi is a developer, by the way. He's a Bitcoin developer working with World Bitcoin. He's a privacy freak. He's a privacy technical expert. So, in case you have more questions, you can tag him. You can reach out to him. He's an amazing Bitcoiner. He's very approachable. He's very helpful. He was one of my first mentors when I was very new to Bitcoin, and he's one of the strongest reasons I feel so passionately about Bitcoin and privacy now, because privacy for me was very new. Even though I have studied a fair bit of uh, what is it called, cyber laws, which is independence of the cyberspace, but I think I did not have a strong understanding of privacy before Bitcoin. One interesting anecdote about Ishi, that he is a DJ. He is a literal DJ. He's performed at parties and concerts, and he became a Bitcoiner later, and he still calls himself more of a DJ than an engineer. Even though he's a brilliant engineer, he's literally working at one of the biggest companies in Bitcoin, and not just biggest in terms of whatever, right, revenue or marketing, whatever, but a company that literally funds free and open source software, which is not a lot of companies. Okay, I'll start reading again. When is privacy required? The three areas shall serve as examples of preserving value through hiding: complex minority opinions, relationships between persons, the human person itself. I will cover these. And before that, I've been seeing that Derv is typing. Yeah, take your time. Uh, I tend to ramble sometimes, so you can like type in and we can discuss later as well. So there is no hard stop at 9 that we only discuss these topics on the session. We can discuss them later on the group chat, on the general chat channel, or in DMs as well. Complex opinions. I think complex opinions is a matter of wealth. Once you have wealth, you have complex opinions. When you don't have wealth, you just need food. Complex opinions and bodies of knowledge that are valued highly by their bearers are often only communicated under strict conditions to prevent misunderstanding, misrepresentation, confusion, and disintegration. This is especially useful if the opinion is only held by a minority or if the potential audience lack the necessary context of knowledge to integrate and consider the new information. All right. So, for example, in cyberspace, because you can't look at each other's faces, you can't know where they are standing or sitting or who they are with. Cyberspace by default is a difficult mode of communication, right? The only benefit is that you can communicate across thousands of kilometers. You can communicate to millions and billions of people, but that takes away the human part of it because human language is not just words, it's not just sounds. It is body language, it is attitude, it is intention, it is context, it is subtle nuances that our biology is better at than any of us. Sorry, I was here. The strict conditions under which the information will be communicated serves herein as the boundary between public and private. The more complex, valuable, and different from general knowledge the new information is, the stricter the conditions of communicating then becomes. This can be seen in various areas. For personal, political, or moral opinions, especially if they are held only by a minority, will often not be communicated in situations that only allow superficial or time-restrained conversation. I have a very amazing anecdote to share. This was the same for me. Got into maintaining privacy after meeting a few amazing Bitcoiners. Right? Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's been my story. I actually met a couple of people who had the opposite story, not in terms of valuing privacy first and through privacy they valued Bitcoin. Or maybe that was actually the case. They were Nostr devs and they got introduced to Bitcoin through Nostr. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that Nostr was more popular for them than Bitcoin? It is. I still don't believe it. Maybe they are lying. I have no way to know. I have no way to know, and that's also okay. I know them in person, but I don't want to have a strong opinion about them. Uh, my point, sorry, yeah, I was talking about how, like Calais, one of the most famous Nostr devs, Calle, you can look him up on Nostr. He's also active on Twitter, but he actively shits on Twitter. He talks about one of the things about how internet was a utopia. I am a 28-year-old guy, but I haven't used internet in the 1980s. But I think he's a very senior guy, and he talked about how he has lived through internet utopia, and he knows what it's about. It's about coming up with random connections and interesting conversations on the internet. You don't have to know anything more than that person or that cat or that dog is communicating good ideas and interesting conversations and whatever. So he has lived through that time. So a lot of people say that when will Nostr become mainstream? The simple answer is it does not need to. The longer answer is it can if you want it to be. Third answer is it might, because eventually some Nostr devs say that you will get rug pulled in terms of data, that Elon Musk will do whatever he wants with your data, and eventually we'll see it. Like I have started to see it. He, not just Elon Musk, of course, it's big tech. They pump ads, literally produce ads. That's their business, right? So I'm bombarded with ads, and I don't like it. I don't like being bombarded. Been happening for like past 15 years. Okay.
I also don't think that we aren't living in an internet utopia. Actually, it's pretty great. Right now, we are
Huh.
discussing the same new things, interesting ideas, etc., etc.
Right, right. I agree. My introduction to Bitcoin was also through just being a technology curious person. I actually got introduced to Bitcoin after my college life, and I was so surprised that I was an internet nerd. In my college, as a law school student, I was curious about sociopolitics and all the conversations of human behavior, because that's literally what law is about. But I never came across Bitcoin. This is literally a remark on big tech that somehow, maybe I was too stupid and I was looking at random useless things, but I never came across Bitcoin. Or maybe if I did, it was not too catchy. And I got introduced to Bitcoin by Anderson Antonopoulos, and it was not number go up. Like, I'm not bragging, but at the time, even though Bitcoin price was high, I got introduced to Bitcoin through Anderson Antonopoulos, not number go up. And because of Anderson Antonopoulos plus number go up, I got way too into it. That's probably the reason I jumped into it. But yeah, Anderson Antonopoulos is a rabbit hole on its own. I was watching his YouTube videos for a lot of time. Only then later I got onto Bitcoin Twitter and got to know that there is a whole community of Bitcoiners. These situations do not allow for the speaker to present and argue for their position, and thus risk for the information to be misunderstood and misrepresented later. The consequences of this disintegration of information can be witnessed in the effects of hearsay that considers itself with minority groups and opinions, leading to widespread false myths that often cannot be corrected afterwards because they have become part of common knowledge. Right, right. This is actually, if I had to condense it, it's the phenomenon of reputation. Reputation is a thing, all of us know it. And what happens is that if you reveal more than what is necessary, it becomes common knowledge. And a lot of people can't afford it. A lot of doctors, lawyers, sensitive professions like defense, military, police, they can't literally afford it. And that's understandable. So yeah, for them, privacy is a very integral part of their lives. Thus, it is often favorable to conceal personal opinion and deprive the public of correct information if otherwise the reinforcement of false information or the support of slander are likely. The quality of public and political debate as well as the celebrity and gossip culture serves as evidence for this. Numerous further examples about the protection of ideas through hiding exist in history and shall only be mentioned for further reference. I'll take a quick pause because the next paragraph is actually my favorite. I'll take a quick pause because uh, wait, I'll first read the chat. Never met in person to someone who got introduced because of the price go up. This shows that people in common discussion groups, people building real things on Bitcoin are amazing. Right, right. Yeah, I think a lot of people come into Bitcoin because some friend told them. That's my observation. It's usually some friend. Price go up may be a factor in them coming to a Bitcoin event or reading about Bitcoin a little bit. But honestly, it does not happen. I don't see people reading about Bitcoin just because it's yeah. Like I think that's what you're
I
saying.
mean, you are very much more experienced in Bitcoin, meeting people who know Bitcoin than me. Means personally, the people I meet are mostly not because of the price go up.
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
like
Interesting. Okay.
uh, I've been in this space for like 1 year barely, so
Uh
like
huh.
uh, haven't met much people, too many of
Huh.
them, but still, those who ever I ever met, they are pretty great actually.
Right. No, that's amazing. That this. Yeah, yeah. No, this is an interesting data point because I think you're right. I think I have also not like most of the Bitcoiners I meet. They have some story or they have some friend.
Like
It's
they are
like
genuine people actually.
yeah.
That's why
Okay.
what I mean to
Ah.
say.
Right. 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 Yeah, you're right. You're right. But what do you mean by genuine? It's like yeah. I'm just curious as a question.
Genuine means, according to me, the genuine means that they understand the reasoning behind the tech or
Huh.
reasoning behind the price go up phenomena.
Huh. Huh. Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
those I consider as genuine people actually.
Yep, makes sense. And I think I will encourage you to, like you said, you are 1 year into Bitcoin. I'm 4 years into Bitcoin. I got into end of 2021, so not 4 years entirely. I would encourage you to meet Bitcoiners if you want to through the Bitshala meetups and the wider ecosystem meetups. There are a lot of meetups happening now all over India.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll read the next paragraph. I think I wanted to share something before. I think for me, celebrities have always been people that I am fond of. I have never, like, I've been into cricket a lot. So for me, cricketers were celebrities. But I think after college, especially, and also during college, for me, celebrities became researchers. That could be scientists, entrepreneurs, comedians, that could be artists, for me, people who are doing something that no one else is doing is a celebrity, even if they have less than 500 followers, even if they are doing something that no one else understands. Sometimes that's hard to spot, of course, because somebody could be bullshitting. But you meet a lot of people who are not into like huge numbers in terms of money or following or being public or I don't know. Like yeah, it could have so many meanings, right? So a lot of scientists, a lot of great ideas have come from people who were ahead of their times, and they have sacrificed personal lives because of that. And that's where I think the real celebrities are. These are people who are stuff of legends for me. Pythagoreanism and Platonism, the apologists of early Christianity, the Orthodox Church, liturgy, natural science, and political societies of the Enlightenment, including Bacon and Newton as members, Judaism, early socialism, Privacy in this regard serves to preserve the integrity and often survival of information, ideas, and opinions. Yeah. So it actually mentions like Newton is one of my favorites. Of course, I think it's a favorite for a lot of people who like physics. I studied physics after college again. During college, I tried it. I think I'm too dumb for physics also. But I started to watch a documentary series by I can't remember the name of the professor. It's a Muslim professor who's created a brilliant series of documentary on a lot of physics subjects, and he gives context on how Newton came with those ideas, how it has evolved over time. Uh, yeah, and I think Newton was also into alchemy and monetary science because he wanted to create artificial gold. And that just goes on to show you that he was a Bitcoiner at heart. He just did not have computers and and yeah, he was just born way too before Bitcoin. Relationships between persons. Another area of interest is privacy and the use of hiding for the sake of other person. Yeah, this is relationship between persons. Sorry, I missed the title. Another area of interest is privacy and the use of hiding for the sake of other persons. To understand what role privacy plays in the context of relationships between humans, it is necessary to be aware of what communication is. Communication is any act of a sender to convey information to a receiver. This involves forming signs, distinguishable and perceivable features into signals, the message to be transmitted. The choice of signs and signals by the sender and their interpretation by the receiver depends strongly on the context, what both parties perceive about each other, themselves, and their environment. Another part of this context is the estimation of how difficult a sign is to be produced, which has an influence on as how truthful and intentional a signal or message is perceived. I'll take a pause here. This is a mouthful. This is a very mouthful. But I think one example might help. There is a meme, right, of noise and signal in Bitcoin. And Signal is literally a mobile app, which a lot of Bitcoiners use. And I give this example to a lot of people that WhatsApp is a wordplay on the phrase WhatsApp. And literally, a lot of Bitcoiners also use WhatsApp because a lot of Indians use WhatsApp. So, WhatsApp is the place where you just say WhatsApp to the Bitcoiner. Signal is the place where you have more intimate conversations, where you get to know the person, where you plan things or whatever. So, it's literally in the name, it's literally Signal. Signal means that it's better. Signal means that it is truer. WhatsApp is okay. WhatsApp is fine, but I think Signal just has some. Of course, it uses the Whisper protocol. It values privacy. I don't think it's free and open source. I've never checked also, but Facebook and Meta have been infamous for leaking privacy, and their user interface is also noisy. If you use WhatsApp, I use WhatsApp a lot. I use WhatsApp every day, every hour almost. I have Signal, and I use Signal when I have more uh, clear things in my mind when I know what I'm talking about. WhatsApp, I think it's fun. If I WhatsApp is for fun. A proverbial example for this is to preach water and drink wine. One immediately understands that abstaining from wine, which is more costly than to consume it, increases the credibility of the message and resolves the otherwise apparent contradiction. Maintaining privacy in its various forms of hiding, concealing, and silence is such an act of communication, a sign that carries a signal. The sign of privacy, as it shall be called for sake of clarity, can carry a variety of signals that depend on the context of the communication, and it can be intended for a variety of recipients. Again, a mouthful. You don't need to understand each and every word or sentence. I think the most important thing is that silence speaks louder than words. Every human knows this. Every human interacting with humans, colleagues, friends, family, they know a lot of times even silence speaks. So yeah, signal is what matters. In itself, privacy is a signal that discriminates between various degrees of relationships, including some potential receivers from other intended receivers. It is thus communicating which kind of relationship the sender intends to have, which in turn communicates the evaluation of the receiver by the sender. In blunt words, it separates the receiver into special and common people in the eyes of the sender. Yeah. This is a summary. So, if you are someone who has to be a celebrity in the realm of Bollywood, of course you will need to sacrifice the privacy. Of course, you will not understand Signal. Of course, you will not give one shit about encryption. But as soon as you realize that there is someone special to you and there is some sensitive information, and you don't want everyone to know about it, they will be understanding privacy. They're like special and common people distinction is it's a human thing. We are all have biases, and it's a matter of personal experience. A lot of people are intelligent enough to not need that. These are curious people. These are people who are privileged. And privacy. Yeah, a lot of people call themselves privacy enthusiasts as well. So they are literally intellectualizing the idea of privacy, which I also love. I love that privacy is a technical concept, not just a societal concept. The hijab is an example which illustrates this well. Hijab refers to a veil worn by many Muslim women as soon as they enter marriageable age. It is always worn in public and only taken off if no non-related men are present, such as in exclusively female meetings or in the family circle. Her husband will be the only non-related man that will see her hair, thus keeping her hair private. The woman, if she chooses to wear the hijab, hereby communicates towards her husband and all other men that she chooses to have an exclusive intimate relationship only with her husband, and that she values her husband as being of a special high value to her. It is a pledge of allegiance to her husband and a separation of herself from the availability to other men. As can be seen in this example, hiding becomes a tool to communicate a value perception and status of relationship in a discriminatory way. Yeah, this is a beautiful example. And yeah, this perfectly illustrates how privacy is a daily thing. It's not just not a privileged position. I think I was incorrect in saying that you have to be privileged to be private. Privacy, everyone practices it. Like a lot of people don't put up their pictures on various social medias for good reason, because they are leaking so much of their lives unknowingly to people who might not have the best intentions. Similar signs exist in Western cultures as well. For example, the revelation of a family's secret receipt towards the fiance of a child serves as a sign of acceptance and inclusion into the family. Similarly, some topics of conversations are usually preserved for the close relationship between couples or that of good friends. This not only is a sign of uptightness, if at all, but also a tool to show and maintain the deepness of a special and exclusive relationship that is built on the mutual holding of the other in high esteem. The opposite, divulging information indiscriminately, that thus communicates that others are not held in high esteem and that the communicating party is unwilling or unable to come to a different evaluation of others. Likewise, the sharing of information with the public, if this information was gained within a special relationship, should rightly be viewed as an act of betrayal, since it communicates that the damaged person is held in lower regard than the receiving masses, even as assured of the opposite. Yep, yep. Yeah, I think it's the biggest signal in the world. If you have someone who treats you differently in public, of course, it's a signal that they value public perception, and it's a human thing. They, of course, will value public perception. But yeah, a lot of people, because you have certain opinions, values, or their face, they don't like your face. They will treat you differently in public because they don't like your face. It's a thing. So I think, yeah, what a good signal might be is understanding social dynamics. If you're interacting with 4 people, your social behavior is of course different. If you're interacting with 40 people, it's different. If you're interacting with 4,000 people, it will of course be very different. People even in front of camera, some people are uncomfortable for good reasons, because it's literally a void, right? You don't know where that information is going. That's why I admire people who have zero problem with being in front of camera. It's literally an act of courage, and you have to admire it. Sometimes there's naivete, but a lot of time people do it knowingly. A lot of Bitcoiners also do it, of course, and uh, that's a sign of giving out a statement that I am a Bitcoiner. I'm doing this. Yeah. I'll take a pause here. We are 10 minutes left for the session. Thank you so much for listening in. We might not be able to cover the entire article, and that's okay. I think the point of the article is not to go every word by word. Uh, yeah, you can read it on your own if you find it interesting. I think for me, I try my best to communicate ideas in short snippets on WhatsApp groups, in personal interactions. Even on Nostr, I started to become very active on Nostr. I don't use Twitter. Twitter is very noisy. I just use Twitter sometimes for scrolling, but it's mostly Nostr where I've started to write, and I write short, like really short. Sometimes one word, one sentence, maybe one paragraph. That's it. Because I think ideas need to be communicated in a way where you can communicate them to your mom or your friends. And usually, when you talk to your mom and your friends, you spend a lot of time with them, but you don't use a lot of paragraphs. You never like write 10 paragraphs to your friends, right? You write maybe 2 paragraphs at max. And of course, the whole idea of writing is not to communicate to your friends or your mom, it's to communicate the idea to the outer world. So of course, the idea of long form articles will of course always be preserved. I haven't personally written any long form article, but there are a lot of people in India who are also doing it. You can find them on Nostr. You can find them on Twitter as well. I don't think anyone is doing it on Twitter though. Sachin is writing long form articles on Liberty. You can check him out on Nostr. Uh, Anuj has started writing articles. He goes by Satori. Sorry for doxing him, but I don't think he. Yeah, Derb, you are the only Bitcoiner that we haven't met. You can't. You have to meet us now. You have to meet me. I have to know if that dog is a human. Yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
coming to Bangalore soon. Hopefully, we will meet there.
Okay. Yeah, we organize public events. So whenever you can check on you're active on Discord, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, whenever there's an announcement on IRL meetups or on the general chat, I think you will see the announcements. We're doing one on 5th of July. So you can meet a lot of Bitcoiners. Yeah, you can interact with the entire Bitshala team and yeah, get to know what we are up to.
Actually, I'm coming to Bangalore on 5th.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, 5th July, that's the date. That's the event of Bitax Workshop. So if you are interested in setting up a Bitax solo miner and learning about Bitcoin as an industry, Bitcoin mining, sorry, then Sunil Kumar is the in-house expert and he will be there. Jet King, Siddharth Dunani will be there. Founders of Bitshala will be there. A lot of Bitshala team members will be there. Yeah. I'll read this paragraph. Yeah, I think yeah, I'll quickly read for the next 2 to 4 minutes, and then I'll just take a pause, and I'll probably just read the last few paragraphs to conclude if this article concludes it in the last. The human person itself. Okay, I think this is very interesting. Like, why does privacy matter to you? Not just in contrast to you, not just for your relationships and your social appearance, but to your inner dialogue. The last area to examine here as an example of preserving value through hiding is the human person itself. At the core of this matter lies the question of what makes a person a self instead of an other, and how this self can refer to itself over time, as in, I myself went to the park yesterday. What is this I or self we refer to? And how does it come to be what it is instead of being something else? There is no current consensus on how to answer these questions, nor should it be the task of this text to present and weigh the different views, nor to fully develop a theory of personhood on its own. Instead, it will touch the process of change of a person. How has a person become what it is now? And how will it become what it will be in the future? How does the process differentiate this from another? The popular answer is that genes, upbringing, and society are the shapers of persons in different proportions depending on who one asks. Nevertheless, individuals are treated as moral agents acting by decision and responsible for the decisions made. It is a person who is punished for a crime and not school's evolution of society. It is persons that are persuaded by others asked to consider moral and ethical categories, respected or disgraced for individual actions. Clearly, it is understood by most that a person is not shaped exclusively by that which is not part of him, but also by himself. Certainly, genes, upbringing, society, and the situative environment are influenced, but it is also the self that forms the self. This self-forming takes place with every decision made, changing the status, the shape of oneself, the individual path of the person through life. Yeah, like I said, I'll just read the last three paragraphs for a couple of minutes, and then yeah, we'll have a discussion for the rest of the 2 3 minutes, and take a hard stop at 9:02, like maybe 2 to 5 minutes. I'm outside, so I'll have to also leave. Uh, yeah, I think I can read from here. Privacy thirst nurtures societies that thrive for improvement. Privacy is a sophisticated idea, by the way, right? Even in US, privacy is not mainstream. Even in Europe, it's not mainstream. Forget India; it's of course not mainstream in India. So, privacy, for someone to value it, they have to be a bit sophisticated in their expression. Intrinsically, I believe everyone understands privacy. It's a matter of education for them to be able to articulate it. Uh, yeah, this might even hold for the potential for individual actors to integrate justifiable norms of social interactions into their selves through independent contemplation and decisions instead of understanding these norms as being imposed by another. Does this hold the promise of social interaction to become more reliable and truthful? Answering affirmative seems to be more justifiable than the negotiation. However, one warning against privacy is appropriate, be it a personal lifestyle or a culture of privacy. Both demand personal improvement from each partaking individual. This is the result of privacy to allow for and supporting of discriminatory relationships, and decoupling from the influence of others. Privacy thus removes many opportunities to blame others and to excuse oneself in the light of personal error. Nevertheless, privacy also allows for many justified second chances and true forgiveness. In summary, it can be concluded that maintaining privacy and hiding of things serves well in preserving and expressing the value one attributes to things and other persons. Furthermore, privacy is a necessary condition for the continuing development of the self and the sustaination of truthful and honest interpersonal relationships by means of communicative discrimination. In turn, the denial of privacy must be realized to be unjustified and even harmful. The presented arguments for the allegedly negative impact of privacy have been found to be without merit or even supporting the strong use of privacy in society. The conclusion drawn is therefore that opposition to privacy, as in I hide nothing because I have nothing to fear, cannot be a default behavior. Instead, the use and support of privacy in the form of because I value many things, therefore hide many things, should be the standard unless it clearly needs to be abandoned for specific situations, if at all. Yeah, if unless you have bad intentions, there is no reason for you to leak more information than necessary ever. I got to leave, another meeting coming up. Bye bye. Nice interacting. Yep. Thanks. Close my screen now. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jatin. Thank you, Apalok, Bala, Yugansh.